Fat and Small. And that's called Turn Around. My guest this morning is Maria Paviour. I hate your name, I'm sorry, Maria. I can never get it right. Good morning. You're looking radiant as ever. Anyway, nice to see you this morning. And Maria Paviour.
Yeah.
Yes. And today we're talking about everyday heroes.
That's right.
Because normally you're talking about empowering women, but you're almost empowering everybody with this.
Well, that's right. I do believe in empowerment for everyone, and there are interesting things about the difference between what happens with men and women actually in terms of everyday heroes. But what we're talking about here is not the Bradley Wiggins type of hero, because we all know about him winning the Tour de France, fantastic, and all of those Olympic athletes that we may look up to as heroes. What I'm talking about today is the everyday heroes, the people that do things which they believe they just do because it should be done and that everybody ought to.
The people that stand up for something.
The people that stand up for something, the people that do right when wrong is being done. And
it's not easy to do that.
Really difficult, and there's some good reasons why it's difficult. One of the things that stops people from doing it is the environment that they're in. Social pressure is incredibly profound. You only need 3 or 4 people to have a different opinion, and it makes you actually think to yourself, well, they must know more than I do, so maybe I'm not right. And it is really difficult actually to stand up to wrongdoing. But if you look at what's been going on recently in the news with the banks and all of the problems with things being done wrongly, and so many people went along with it and nobody stood up and said, actually, this isn't right. Why are we doing this? This is the wrong thing to do. And that's because of this social pressure. There are a number of things that affect people. If there's an authority figure that says this is the right thing to do, people will tend to go along with it. If other people are doing it too, they'll tend to go along with it. It's very difficult to stand up and say, I actually might risk not being liked by my peers if I do something about this. It's a very difficult thing to do.
This is what the Australians call the tall poppy syndrome, isn't it? The tall poppy in the cornfield gets chopped off.
Yes, and that is
and that's
exactly
what people worry about, isn't it?
It does happen a little bit too often, and that's what I would like to really make sure that people feel empowered to stand up and do the right thing. And actually, let's just, we need to change the world a little bit here and say, well, look, when people are doing the right thing and standing up for what is right, we need to be supporting them, not, as you say, chopping the poppy off in the field. So,
yeah, because the whistleblowers are the ones who really suffer from that, don't they? Somebody who does become a whistleblower, it's not a good idea sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with a group called Patients First, and all of them, I think, whistleblowers in the NHS who have suffered really badly as a result of raising a complaint. And one of them, the person who set it up, Dr. Kim Holt, and you may know her because she was a whistleblower in the Baby P case.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And she actually raised concerns, and unfortunately, she was bullied rather than listened to. And we know the tragic results of that case. If somebody had listened to her, the results may have been quite different, but instead she was severely bullied. She's still in post, but there are a lot of whistleblowers from the NHS who have actually been pushed out of their job. I mean, and not that far away as well. I mean, doctors who've been locked out of their surgery because they've blown the whistle. So that kind of thing. And what we need to do is we need to alter the way that people perceive what's going on around them. So rather than them taking this view that they're going to just go along with it, even when they know it's wrong, people need to feel that they can actually become an everyday hero and say, actually, you know what, that isn't right.
I know, but it's difficult because it can have all sorts of effects. A, you can lose your job. It can affect your relationships.
Yes.
Because it's going to go home with you, isn't it?
Oh, totally.
And it can change your whole way of life. Is it not better just to say, well, fair dues, let's let it get on?
Well, I think that's what a lot of people think. I mean, it's shown that percentage-wise, only about 1 to 3% of the population are naturally everyday heroes. 1% of the population are psychopaths, interestingly, same prevalence as schizophrenia. So there is 1% of the population who don't care about rules and who will do anything, not bothered, don't have any empathy, not interested in other people. So, and those people are just as likely to be in the workplace as anywhere else. They're not necessarily serial killers. So you've got 1% of people who are potentially going to do wrong without any remorse. and you've got only 1 to 3% of people who are going to stand up to it. And in the middle, the vast majority of people fit right in the middle. And the thing about that is that they can be easily swayed to go one way or the other. And that's why wrongdoing happens in grand schemes, like in the banks. It happens in a big way because you've got most people who are going to go with authority. So if the boss says it, I'll go along with it. And it is very, very difficult to stand up and say, no, I don't agree with that. But when you ask everyday heroes, when they're asked, why did you do it? They say, I did it because it was the right thing to do and because it's what everybody ought to do. And they never consider themselves special. They only ever think, well, I did the right thing.
See, I've actually done it in the past where I've stood up for people that I feel they should be better treated in companies and that. And it doesn't always work, does it? You become an outcast as well.
You can do, it's true.
I'm just gobby, I suppose.
And I've had exactly the same experience where I've done the same thing. And I've had the same negative experience as well. So
don't you keep your trap shut, John, is what I sometimes think.
Well, and I think the same, but the problem is I also have this sense of, well, actually, I can't, because if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong, and therefore something should be done about it. I think sometimes how you do things is the key.
Yes, we'll talk about that in just a moment. My guest this morning, Maria Paviour. His share, Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves.